great, and it actually extends to then, I think, a larger question that maybe each of you could comment on, which is, because I've heard Jed speak about this a lot, and obviously in Dumbo, there's a lot of independent retailing that you've kind of curated, and you've brought in arts organizations and so forth, and Marianne, you seem to be advocating for a lot of the same. When all of you look at the plans for Hudson Yards, or the World Trade Center site in particular, and you see office buildings in some ways that are almost kind of contemporary versions of what you have in Metrotech, right? So, big floor plate buildings, it's all office by and large, and then there's some retail. I mean, Hudson Yards is going to be a fairly large retail complex, right? These are big, important developments for our city. Do you get at all concerned that it doesn't have, or doesn't feel like, at least yet, to have that kind of vibe at the street level that you guys advocate? Or is it more a question of, we're talking about one subset of our kind of business ecology in New York City, which are these creative companies, but there's still plenty of room for more, call them traditional companies that are fine walking by, I'm going to be a little mean, a Chase ATM branch and a Duane Reade before you get into a Marvel office lobby and get whooshed up to your elevator. Is there still, in other words, is there still room for both of those things to expand, or is there actually a sea change where even the office workers who work in those more kind of classically corporate environments want that stuff at the ground floor that you see a lot of your tenants wanting in these other neighborhoods?
You want me to try first?
Try first.
I think it's mixed. I think, I think from a practical standpoint, you're not going to get, you're not going to have the same retail experience that I've created in Dumbo, right? The Port Authority is not going to have like some friend of a friend of a friend open the like art supply store. Like that's not going to be the Port's business model in terms of creating retail at ground zero. And I think that's kind of obvious and appropriate. The one example I look to in terms of the city where there is a great kind of mixed use place with great public open space that works is Rockefeller Center, right? I mean, Rockefeller Center is kind of the higher end mixed use model that mixes great open spaces and higher end retail and a more corporate office environment certainly than what we've created. To me, that's a more ripe model that the Hudson Yards folks and the people collaboratively dealing with the World Trade Center sites should maybe aspire to. And I think there are a lot of, from what I've seen of both, I think there's a pretty good mixture, and we'll see how it gets executed, but intellectually, I think in both of those places, there's a really healthy mixture of great public open spaces, cultural attractions that are going to bring people there for different reasons, and then your obvious mix across the real estate spectrum, right? Retail, hotel, office, residential. And the city needs both, right? The city needs more mom and pop kinds of stuff that we do, and it's going to lead more towards Brooklyn and more towards rehab, and it's going to be at a different price point. And the city also needs like incredibly high-end, off-the-charts, much more expensive and probably more institutional space as well. Goldman Sachs isn't going out of business, not that they're going to be a tenant in either of those places, but there are lots of large corporate users, and New York still wants to compete for those people, and I think both ends of the spectrum are appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have little concern because it's just we have a lot of different office market segments, and in the end, I mean, tech is the innovation economy, the creative economy.
We call them the we generation. Don't be shy.
It's your branding.
Don't be shy. Everybody owns it. It's not ours. It's the world.
We have, I think, 1,500 startups in the city of New York, which is great, and then we have the movement into these more moderate scale businesses, and it's important to give them amenities. But at the end of the day, the finance, insurance, real estate sectors are important too, and that's what those hubs will do. But I guess the other thing, Vishaan, is that
let me just stop. Let me. Okay, go ahead. You said the other thing.
The places you mentioned I think we more and more over the last 10 or 15 years, we've started to look at those places as broader districts. And that's where, I mean, it's important that we have concentrations of Class A office that have the retail that goes along with conventional Class A office, but the Trade Center is part of a broader effort the city has made to create a place that's vibrant and mixed use and accesses the waterfront along Fulton Street and over to the west side. And you start to look more broadly at those places, or you look at the connection that there will be between Hudson Yards and West Chelsea because of the High Line and other amenities. And you're creating those amenities. You're just spacing them out a little bit more because of the scale.